Unaitwa nani?
Naitwa Lisa, mimi ni student Zetech. Yes. Mimi naambia tu KPA kitawaramba.
Kesho
kitawaramba.
Kitawaramba. Mbona mnajiamini hivyo?
Sisi tuko na nyota zote. Nyota ni yetu.
Mnakwenda kuizima yao.
Tunazima hawana. Sisi ndio tuko na nyota.
Kwa hivyo hawajui wanakuja kucheza na nani?
Hawajui.
Hebu sema tena KPA mnakwenda
kitawaramba.
Welcome back, basketball fans. Welcome back. So, the KBF finals have been quite interesting. And without further ado, let me just get into it. But before we get into it, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell so you can get notified on any video I post. And without further ado, let me just get into it. So, the KPA Dockers versus the Zetech Sparks. So, let's just start with the women's division because man, there's just so much to unpack here. So, the KPA Dockers are off to a hot start. They have won 2 straight games and are up 2-0 on the Zetech Sparks as the series heads to the KPA Makane Gymnasium, where the KPA Dockers women's team will have the chance to defend home court. So, them being up 2-0 and winning those 2 games in convincing fashion have shown why they need to go back to back, because if you look at the overall flow of game 1, you could see the game was already decided at the half, because that game, it ended 68-38. You could see the Zetech Sparks didn't pose that much of a resistance on KPA's offense, and they're just running on all cylinders at that point. So when they're running on all cylinders and everyone is just, getting their turn to score the basketball, and they're just getting into their own way to win games. And considering the fact that they have racked up so much experience, not only did this team go unbeaten, but they had the chance to play in Zone 5 and the Africa Women's Cup. So you could see all that experience that they had accumulated was part in the reason as to why they went unbeaten in the regular season. Okay, they suffered in the Africa Women's Cup. They lost 4 of their 7 games, and they had a record of 3-4. So they had 4 losses, 3 wins. But you could see the level of competition there was actually pretty different from what we are seeing in KBF. You could see KPA, the women's team, and even the KPA men's team are just a cut above all the other teams. So right now they're sitting up 2-0, only 1 win away from sweeping the Zetech Sparks and being back-to-back champions. So before game 1 tipped off, Coach Obi, the coach for the Zetech Sparks, had this to say: at any stage, the Sparks always compete, and this will be no different. We go up against an experienced side, but while they have that going for them, we will not be intimidated by their status, knowing what decisions to make on the court, and when it comes with experience, so that this is not something you can fix in a week. However, we are talking to the players and they understand that this is a different basketball game and quick thinking is key. We want to reduce any errors that might happen due to inexperience and give ourselves a chance. So our defense has some loopholes in previous matches against KPA, so we're working on that, and I feel our offense was not as bad. So Coach Obi also admits that his side loses in the regular season. Also looking at the way they performed against KPA during the regular season, it wasn't the best, adding that his technical bench is working on building players' confidence ahead of crucial matches. So you could see Coach Obi and the Zetech Sparks made the adjustments they had to make, especially when they matched up against the Equity Hawks, and the adjustments paid off pretty well. They're able to, get into their zone. They're picking up the Equity Hawks guards full court. They're defending pretty well. Now the next challenge is beating the defending champions, which I feel like the odds are just stacked against them at this point. And I saw fitting to start with what he said, And just to just to add on, we had some banter in there, and as well as the Kitawaramba comments made in a KTN news interview where the Zetech Sparks were interviewed by some KTN journalists in there. I mean, I'll let the video play, and we'll come back after that.
Naitwa Alisa, mimi ni student Zetech. Yes. Mimi naambia tu KPA Kitawaramba.
Kesho Kitawaramba. Mbona mnajiamini hivyo?
Sisi tuko na nyota zote. Nyota ni yetu.
Mnakwenda kuizima yao.
Tunazima hawana. Sisi ndio tuko na nyota.
Kwa hivyo hawajui wanakuja kucheza na nani?
Hawajui.
Hebu sema tena KPA mnakwenda
Kitawaramba.
So it's apparent that you need not taunt or downplay the defending champs. So after these comments, Game 1 had the KPA Dockers blow out the Sparks by 30 points, and in Game 2 the carnage continued as the KPA Dockers dropped the hammer and blew the Sparks out again by 32 points and dictated the tempo of the series, going up 2-0. So I mean, I saw this similar thing in this playoffs with Dillon Brooks and the Lakers. Sometimes you need to let your game talk. When you choose to go that route, you need to back it up on the court. Zetech, I mean, I'm talking to you right now because, talking all that smack in there, and you're not posing a threat to the defending champs, man. Some people take some comments personally, and how they choose to respond, they might not respond to you verbally, but you could see the attitude in the court and the way they're going about their business. You'll just amp them up and give them extra motivation to embarrass you, like the way they've embarrassed the way the KPA Dockers really embarrassed the Zetech Sparks. I mean, there was just double onslaught back-to-back days and one game away from a sweep. So KPA made the match so one-sided, and the flow of the game looked so predictable, making both Game 1 and Game 2 look all decided at the start of the fourth quarter. I can even say the start of the half, because Zetech were not able to even get a shot off in there. So right now, the Zetech Sparks matchup is up in the air. Winning Game 3 will be huge and will assist them in making this series interesting. With Coach Obi's sides, the Zetech Sparks back against the wall, how they choose to respond will determine their title hopes, as things look so bleak right now. But I credit the Sparks getting to this point, getting to the finals, getting the revenge. To get to that point where they're in the finals was commendable, but how the Zetech Sparks respond will be the difference. So one thing I noted, I've been following Coach Obi's Zetech team since the Nairobi Basketball Association, the NBA, way back in 2021, and his winning record in high-stakes games is not that promising. Okay, let's look at the Zetech development team, the team that is currently in Div 1. So in the NBA, they had a very good regular season, and they got upset by the Dreamers team. So, I mean, at the time, it looked like at the time they were playing the Dream Girls. So at the time when they played, you could say that the Zetech Sparks were going to win it all, but when it mattered, they lost 2 straight. They won Game 3, then they had to lose Game 4. So, I mean, it is what it is. And if you look at even last postseason, when I was covering it, you could see in a high-stakes game against the Equity Hawks, they got swept, but at least they got the revenge sweep on them. But when it comes to KPA, man, I'm not sure, because the biggest test is against KPA, and so far, Zetech hasn't had any much success dealing with KPA. And to make things even worse, like trailing down 0-2, those are really stacked against Zetech, due to the fact that now the games have gone to KPA's home court. So, and considering the fact that KPA have a very high winning percentage when it comes to them playing at home, it's going to be a very tall ask. And without any legit answers from the Zetech Sparks to KPA, the Zetech Sparks will be swept in Game 3 to close out the series and make the KPA Dockers women's team win the chip and go back to back. So I mean, it's just a tough place to be, especially when you're a team that is looking to make history and get to that next level, and you have to make sure you get through that the defending champions. But when you have outings like that, I mean, they make the series look so boring. Honestly, if you look at the way the hype that they came in when Zetech were matching up against KPA before game one, you could see this is a team that wants to make history in there. They're in the biggest stage in basketball, but how they respond in that biggest stage is what will determine if they win it or not and make the series interesting. At least they will have tried to find some form in game two and not let it be a repeat, because it was funny how the Zetech Sparks were held to 38 points both in game one and game two. They were able to even cut the deficit, because every time they just in game one and game two they just got beat by double digits. So it's really, really embarrassing. But on the men's side, the KPA Dockers and the Equity Dumas matchup, this is actually pretty interesting. So KPA took game one. Equity Dumas responded appropriately. I mean, game one and game two happened this past weekend as they tied up the series to come back in a comeback win in game two. So the series is tied at 1 apiece. I remember in last postseason, the semis, Equity, they won both game one and game two in Nairobi. Heading into the Makanda Gymnasium, you could see they were only one win away to win, but we will get to that. So as the series is headed to the Makanda Gymnasium, it looks to play out all 5 games, honestly. Because on one hand, the Equity Dumas, they're trading blows. The KPA Dockers are trading blows. They want to get to that ball, road to ball. The Equity Dumas also want to get that ball. So, and no team is, falling for the other, because in game two, things got heated a bit, and you could see both teams just are built for this huge stage. So, in this year, I can say Equity looks more dangerous, especially that revamped roster that looks to go all the way. So Coach Ojuku had this to say when asked by Standard Media before game one: winning another double with KP will be precious. I know it will not be an easy walk in the park, but we are ready. We will approach the finals with a lot of caution, because there are very strong sides who have demonstrated they are good enough. So Dumas may be making their debut in the finals, but they are not weak. With our experienced squads, I believe that will give us an edge. We need wins, but wins playing away from home. If we avoid going down 2-0 in Nairobi, the advantage will be on us heading to Mombasa, where we rarely lose. So KPA have a high winning percentage at home at the Makane Gymnasium, and through the years the series have their tipping points there. And when they played at the Makane Gymnasium, I don't know, it's just like when you play at home, you're able to have that edge. KPA are able to come back down from an 0-2 deficit last postseason on the Equity Dumas, the team that they're matching up right now in the finals, to clinch the series against them. And they also went the distance to the Ulinzi Warriors, so winning it all. So you could see the tipping point is there, and Equity and KPA are in the, I don't want to say same situation that they were in last season, but you could see that energy, and those two big teams are headed back to that place where the controversial series, the one that dragged on and kind of made headlines at the time. Even I covered it in this channel. Just there's just so much controversy going into it, but there's not the video for it. Make sure to check out that video. I made it that time. So I mean, at this time, the KPA, they're just looking to get the job done. easily, especially if they can be able to grab a game 3 win and a game 4 win at home, considering the fact that high win percentage is there. And also the same case applies to the KPA Dockers women's team, who blew out the Sparks, as we talked about this earlier. And even in the regular season, the Zetech Sparks have not been able to one up the KPA team. And right now, the KPA team are just up 2-0 with one game away from a sweep. So the remainder of all the games will be played at KPA Makane Gymnasium. A champion will be crowned this weekend, provided no controversies occur. Hopefully we're able to get like a legit clean series. Hopefully there's no fan interference. Hopefully we don't get like these cases arise, especially like the way things panned out last season, the last postseason. So this finals will get to tell us all we need to know about the team that's going to make it to the road to BAL 2024. So in other news, Al Ahly were crowned champions this weekend and are looking at the way the BAL is set up right now. Winning to get in might prove a challenge, as teams are stacking the deck and are making title contenders, like overnight. You could see some teams are acquiring some key pieces, some key players in there, and right now road to BAL has become much more difficult to get in. So the winner of this series might show us who is going to represent BAL and how they're going to do it. So they're actually pretty important that both teams are able to like bring out their A game. On one hand, you can see KPA, they're trying to go back to back, not only win the chip but also go to road to BAL and fix the mistakes that they had last postseason, and also try to go and see if they can play ahead. And you have the Equity Dumas, who have their on that revenge tour. If they're able to like beat the KPA Dockers and they're able to like avenge that series loss and also at the same time win the chip and also go to road to BAL, you could see there's so much stories and there's so much implications on whichever side wins. You have Equity on your side, you have KPA on your side. So I mean, this series, how it plays out, will tell us all we need to know about who's going to do what, especially in the BAL. So I mean, I'm pretty excited because this coming weekend, a champion will be crowned, and it just marks the end of the season. I mean, it's just been a long season. There's just been so much stories in there, and hopefully everything just goes on well. Hopefully no controversies just like last season, because, man, the controversies really dragged out. On one hand, if I even can get to it, like, long story short, on one hand you had, the Ulinzi Warriors filling an ineligible player, the Lakeside team, closing that, accusation on the sports tribunal on that side, on the others, and also saying that the Ulinzi series should be nullified and a restart should be there. On the other side, you're seeing like Equity and KPA had that issue with, in game 3 and also game 5 when they walked out. So you had all those things in that postseason, and kind of watered down even the people who went ahead and competed pretty well. And honestly, if you ask me, we shouldn't get a repeat of that, because that will just water down the integrity of the sport. And honestly, we don't need that right now. We just need the teams just to go out there and ball and just make sure to be able to get the job done. And if they don't, they're the teams that don't get the job done, they can try out next season. And it is what it is. Some teams win, some teams lose. That's how the game is played. So so if you guys like the video, make sure you leave your feedback down in the comments on what you think. And I'm out. Peace.